Well, let's crack this. As you see, this is the art of innovation. Let the customer be your guide is the comment. But really, what we have in common here is we have folks that are either, as we've seen, about 38, 39 of the Interbrand 100 actually have an outpost out here. They actually have a lab or a venture arm out here. Another 14, as in Visa, HP, others, are actually headquartered out here. So we want to dig into a little bit of that in the next 20 minutes or so. Guys, would you please introduce yourself, your title, where you sit in the organization?
I'm Chris Miller. As Mark said, I was 20 years in the agency side. I'm now 2 months in the client side. I went from Chief Digital Officer to the DVP, Global Brand Strategy and Innovation, which in itself is a mouthful. Basically, I've got 3 areas. I have all the branding work, all of our digital work, and innovation from a marketing side, which is a new area for Abbott that I'm doing. I report directly to the CMO, who reports to the CEO, so what Abbott calls a two-off.
Great. So you've got you're part of the 75% that Chen was talking about that are technology and innovation reporting into CMO.
Right, and the nice thing is for me, it's not just technology, but it's also how it expressed in other media, so I get to do digital as well as traditional work as well.
Great. Winston?
Yeah, so Winston Wang, Global Director of Strategic Innovation for AB InBev. Worked for the global organization, been with the company about 3 years. And really looking at innovation for marketing and sales technology primarily, also working with the IT organization, and then coming in from background in mobile and media technology. So we're really looking at the future of marketing and where it's going, and trying to pioneer work through pilots and experiments with startups as well as large companies.
Thanks, Winston. Balaji?
Balaji Gopinath. I run the Emerging Technology Group at Turner Broadcasting. Global world, work across all of our brands, both domestically and internationally. It's a 3-pronged approach for us where there's a core biz dev function, there's an R&D function, which we call more applied research, where we develop products and services internally and actually roll that out to all of our brands. We filed 15 patents last year alone. And there's a seed stage investing called Media Camp that we run. In our effort, all of this is to create a network effect, both internally and externally, so that we innovate and find exits for this innovation so that business can realize the advantage operationally.
That's great. Shiv, you've got it all figured out, right?
I wish. I keep hoping that day will arrive.
No, but how long have you been on the job now at Visa?
Well, 3 whole months.
Okay.
So I'm very fresh. So my role is SVP Global Brand and Marketing Transformation. There are really 2 sides to my job. It's a little similar to Chris, actually. I'm responsible for core brand strategy, brand management, and card innovation and card design, and then also global digital strategy for Visa.
Great, thanks. Well, traditionally when you think about innovation for business, like baby formula and beer, I never thought I'd be able to say that in the same sentence. Mother's milk, essentially. You think about core product innovation, right? Again, I can see where innovation would go to product from, very quickly for media and card, but for FMCG companies, for product-based companies, why marketing innovation? It seems like, how does this relate to what you make, and how does it tie back to what you make?
Well, for us, it's 2 areas. I think marketing innovation becomes a North Star for the company. So we've got amazingly smart scientists, and some of them out here, who create things, but a lot of it's based on sort of their interests and areas. But by marketing driving innovation, saying here's where we want to go as a brand and where we want to go as a company, that creates white space for them to say, and here's my idea, and here's where I want to apply it. And then we start to have this great ladder effect where they both start to drive not just product innovation, but how we go to market, and then keep building from there.
Well, you were also talking about how marketing may be a different cadence, and also a faster, cleaner touch with the consumers in different global markets.
Yeah, for us, I was just in Asia last week as well, and so it's been interesting sort of jumping in 2 months, getting out to the markets, getting to know people. I think we can do things, at least in Abbott, a lot faster in marketing than we can necessarily do in product. But the nice thing is, especially in some of the emerging markets, we can look at testing things out and trying things. But there's some great insights that we can get on the ground in the markets from marketing again, that we can take back. So, again, those of you who work globally know like things like flavor is so different from market to market. And, I think there's a talk later about, Asia is not a country, right? So you go from Singapore to Hong Kong to China, and there's different, taste values and things. So even those things are important that marketing can start to bring. What are the hot trends? What are consumer interests? And then bring that back that we can then start to leap forward.
How do you think about that for Anheuser-Busch? I know that you said it's sales and marketing was your first place to innovate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it starts with a broader mandate, I think, by our company. We, a huge CPG company, excel through operations, excel through financial discipline. M&A is how we've grown, but the backdrop is about innovation. It's about how do we learn how to become great innovators, and seeing that the innovation that's coming out of Silicon Valley with startups, entrepreneurs, and that kind of culture is what really precipitated the large innovation mandate at our company. But why marketing and sales is because, unlike technology where I was coming from before this company, our product is eternal. Beer is eternal. It's been around for thousands of years. We've got primary packaging, secondary packaging, and then the relationships that we create through with our consumers through advertising and marketing. And it's this revolution in technology and products that are these companies like Facebook, Google, et cetera, powered by marketing business models. So marketers and the technology companies here in the Valley and the startups really do have a great relationship with each other to figure out how we're going to help each other mutually. We need to be where our consumers are, where the eyeballs are, where the attention is. We want to develop deeper relationships with our consumers because traditional advertising isn't working. And so we started with marketing because it was being massively disrupted. Still love traditional media, but figuring out how to work with all the new channels was key. And also sales, because I think so much of the battle is going to be at the moment of truth now. It's not going to be in terms of awareness. Everyone knows our brands like Budweiser, Stella Artois. It's really going to be at that moment where they're going to pick between one of hundreds of choices now. So how do you get that attention at that moment? And I think so many of these new media channels and interactive channels that we're seeing here in the Valley and everywhere will afford us that ability. So it's a great place to start to help our business.
Yeah, Balaji, I mean, what a great way to start off. You can almost mic drop. We've got patents, We've got some actual IP that's generated. You've actually even got some outcomes that have come out of your accelerator. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had a couple of exits last year already in terms of acquisitions. One by Apple that was pretty unexpected and a good surprise for us in terms of the path of the company. The other by Share This, and the other companies have been well funded in terms of their raise as well. I think the interesting thing that we're doing is that vertical focus on media is helping entrepreneurs understand that product market fit and what the media value chain really looks like. So in educating them and helping them to evolve their business very, very quickly, we see a lot of things we can actualize on a real-time basis.
So it's great. Marketers have a responsibility as well to the ecosystem, but what you were just also talking about with the accelerator specifically, my guess is the goal wasn't exclusively exits. However, that's one of the ways that you can certainly gauge outcomes.
Our primary drive was not financial. We were truly, since we work across all the brands and our industry is in such a state of disruption, we are ripe as well as open to working with startups and working with all types of innovators in terms of where we want to take the business and how we can take the business. It's that conversation of different perspective, different lenses, different filters, and how they look at our business as a whole that creates interesting ways to make that innovation more operational and have a production path into it.
Well, it's also, for instance, an exit to Apple might give you optics into a really important platform that other companies may not have.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And spending 12, 13 weeks with these companies, we have to learn the team very well, we learn the technology very well, and again, the way they look at and approach problems in our space, which is very different than the way we look at things in terms of constraints, barriers, historical blinders that we may have on. And in that conversation, that learning on a day-to-day basis gives us insight to what Apple might be thinking about the media space, even before anybody else does.
I know it's early, so let's talk about maybe the PepsiCo experience. You engaged with startups from the get-go all the way through to today, and I'm sure that's going to be part of your playbook here. How are you guys looking at the startup ecosystem?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, and I'm just going to hold this. I think it's easier. I have like I'm complex but really exciting sort of relationship with the whole startup ecosystem and how brands think about it. While at PepsiCo we established a few different things, one of which was a digital labs initiative where we were co-locating with startups and sort of serving as quasi VCs, using some of our advertising budgets to enable them, advise them on their monetization, and through that get benefits to the business. Through that experience, which worked really well, one thing that I learned that might have been missing, and I think is extremely important, is you can't engage in innovation for innovation's sake, and it's so easy. It's like the candy store syndrome, and it's so easy to get caught in that. So one of the things that we're really maniacally focused on at Visa is when we think about innovation and the startup ecosystem more broadly, we think about it as a contributor and as an input to what our brand is and where our brand is going. And everything we need to do, needs to align with that. And then when we think about innovation, it has two sides to it. Product innovation, which is massively important for our business, and then marketing innovation. But we're only interested in, and we're only pushing on those things that align with where our brand is going, because how we market, we believe, represents our brand as much as what we market.
Well, it helps when you can tap into the DNA of the company, right? I mean, I'm thinking about, Turner as the DNA of the company. I'm thinking Abbott Labs must have been inspired by innovation, and certainly Visa was a disruption in and of itself, correct?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you go back to 1960, and the founder of Visa, D. Hawk, said that he believed that digital money. So we had a chief digital officer forum in 1960. He said digital money would become a global universal currency. So yes, absolutely. I mean, we're blessed and lucky to have such a strong heritage to draw upon.
Yeah, similarly, Ted Turner was definitely a maverick in his days in terms of challenging the norm, and that DNA still exists within Turner. We have to unlock that as we've matured and grown, become billion-dollar businesses. I think the challenge is to find people that still have that DNA and help unlock that potential by creating direct connections, that network effect, again, which I think is key, which scales, which is global in nature, and allows you to invent different paths to get product and services to market.
Yeah, I was doing the math. I'm guessing we've got close to $400 billion worth of market cap represented here. And if you just think about, if you just playing the devil's advocate, if I just got 1% efficiency out of you, boom, again. I mean, if I just got 1% of efficiency out of each one of you, it would be material to your business. What can this innovation agenda do to match that sort of focus and intensity? Because I think that's ultimately what we're talking around a little bit, which is there's also, when we talk about chief transformation officer and digital officer, we're talking about trying to bring entire organizations along that aren't the scouts, that aren't just the people who are out here and the guys who are the believers, but it's bringing in entire organizations along with you. Sorry about the speech. I'm getting to a question, though.
I think you just nailed a key thing, though, that you can't efficiency your way to growth. And so I think that's the power of innovation. If you look at the place where we're at right now and what the stock market value, sure, efficiency can get you so far, and yeah, 1% across this is real dollars, but that's not what's going to be rewarded medium and certainly not long-term by shareholders and by the market. I think the thing with innovation, just like Shiv was talking about, is you have to have a North Star. So I try to think of innovation as a trajectory. So as a brand, where do we want to go? And then how does innovation take us there? Which is why, as I said earlier, about marketing innovation being that North Star. Because then we can have innovation against those key points. If we want to be here, what's that trajectory to get us there? And then there's real dollars you can drive from that.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. I think it's incredibly appealing, and it's what the technology companies can provide. It's kind of a paradigm shift, a massive disruption, exponential change. But I think to your question, Mark, large companies like ours really are actually looking as interested in incremental innovation as it is with disruptive innovation. Mm-hmm. Especially early on, for my own journey, bringing our leadership to a place where they could understand how to use technology.
Just to define that, you're talking about like Nike Plus or some blue ocean thing that like Square that hasn't been created before. as
Yeah.
disruption versus like a Foursquare is incremental to what we're doing, even though it feels it's more on the disruptive side.
I think it's a balance between incremental and something that sustains existing business and operational models and paradigms within what your organization can do, and things that are more challenging and really will be transformative and take you farther forward, but probably in the longer term. So it's been interesting because you see all of the disruption that the technology companies are inherently about. But in terms of the adoption of technology, especially for large companies, it's very important to find those quick wins and early wins to sustain the business.
I think one of the challenges we have being in the Valley is that the Valley understands radical disruption very, very well. They invest in it. There are lots of big funds that go after it. But organizations like us who can bring scale to companies very, very quickly, that incremental innovation is actually very key. And it's something that the Valley doesn't necessarily invest in on an immediate basis until it gets to a certain size, nor do they necessarily understand it out of the gate. That domain expertise that we have about our companies, about our lines of business, and how we operate in terms of where we can actually apply some of this is key for us to go after incremental, become substantial, then potentially disruptive.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that is I think as organizations, we sometimes define the word efficiency a bit too narrowly. We think in terms of cost cutting, getting more for spend, when you spend less. And I think we need to expand that definition, because you can use innovation to run a much more efficient business, to drive efficiency in different ways. I mean, hypothetically, Quinton's startup, Unbound, can change the whole dynamics about programmatic buying, and that is innovation, and it could, you could swing a whole bunch of dollars to it, and it can make a big difference. So I'd say that's sort of one key thing. The other thing is, when we talk about innovation, I sort of feel the only way to work it in a large organization is you really have to place a lot of bets. And you really have to introduce them, a metaphor from baseball. So I place a lot of bets, and I manage up and around me by saying, we have to think in terms of batting averages. If I get a 0.3 success, it's golden. But organizations are complex beasts, and to allow for innovation, yes, you have to look at radical. Yes, you have to look at incremental, and you just also have to place a lot of bets, but aligned to that North Star.
Yeah, it's interesting, is a lot of venture guys are taking that same approach. Even the more traditional ones that have these large funds aren't going in here where these are the 3 strategies we're going to use for this fund. There's room for experimentation. All right, I want to make sure that we get your questions in. Questions from anybody out there have some questions for our panel? No, because, yes, over there.
I think that's you.
In terms of innovation, are there any specifics you guys can give in terms of, specific target innovation as a concept, but what areas are you guys tackling, what has been working well, what most excites you?
Yeah, so the playbook, what would be some of the, you talked about the 3 pillars you're working on, Balaji, but maybe Shiv, and some conceptually, directionally, where either that you've pulled from or that you're thinking about?
Yeah, so I mean, some of the low-hanging fruit, the big fancy stuff I can't talk about publicly as yet. But an example is like saying taking, I can't share the exact number, but hypothetically, 5 or 10% of our media spend, and saying we're not going to measure it against all our traditional media metrics, but we want you to define how this could be used in an innovation way and share it across the organization. And then depending upon how effectively that's done, next year that 5% will become 8% or it will drop to 2%. Right away that changes the culture and builds excitement. Another example is to say, this is where the brand strategy is or where the brand is going. Find 100 apps in the mobile space, from the startup ecosystem that further that brand message for us, and let's think about ways to partner with them. So those are just, I'd say, 2 really tactical examples.
That's great. And again, we heard about yours. You're out here in the Valley. What's the playbook? And I know that fortunately your CEO, Stanford grad, and believes in the Valley as well, which probably inspired the garage. But what are some of the pillars that you guys have applied?
Well, I think being a productive, collaborative part of the Valley has been helpful. So we've been out here a few years now, but I'd say so much of the work at corporate innovation is actually internal. It's a larger organization not understanding how to work with smaller companies.
Is it a disadvantage being out here or advantage?
I think both. I'm
Greener grass.
Where's the best place to be in the empire? Rome, right? So it's being away from headquarters has its pluses and minuses. But I think especially early on, building a relationship in a strategic way with the Valley has been great to be here and great to be working with the startups. And the magic of telecommunications, you can be there or to hop on a flight and get back to where you need to be. But I'd say the biggest thing has been, in terms of a best practice for making innovation happen, it's been a commitment to spend a certain amount of budget that's outside the operational budget and mandates that the organization has to maintain the business to push innovation. And so by doing that and mandating that, let's say, 3 innovations per business unit have to happen every single year, it becomes a measurable KPI that's associated with further budget spend. It's a very tactical kind of thing, but it's a very, very real kind of thing for large companies in terms of how they're managed and measured.
That's great. Well, Drew's given us the hook, so would you please join me in thanking the panel for great contributions. Thanks, guys.